Monster Hunter has always been close to my heart, with each title bringing us a bunch of content and challenges, but sometimes these challenges can be tough, and so hunters require builds to help take them on. So, I'm Darcblade with a support build for the Omega Planetes hunt in Monster Hunter Wilds. Now this doesn't use any one particular weapon, as it can be applied to pretty much any of them, but the main weapons that are going to be shown off with this build are the weapons that I feel really help support a team in the form of the Hunting Horn and Sword and Shield. Hunting Horn because we can provide melody buffs, and the Sword and Shield because we can use our potions and such with our weapon drawn. Now as always, if you find these videos helpful or informative or entertaining, please consider leaving a like as well as subscribing to the channel, as not only is it helps me bring more of these videos out, but it also helps my mental health when combating the YouTube algorithm. Now when it comes to Omega and Savage Omega, the fight is designed that players are supposed to take on certain roles, normally tank, DPS and support. Whilst there is some overlap between the roles, most of the time having a dedicated tank and support really helps when it comes to completing this tough opponent, especially the Savage version of Omega Planetes. But what is involved when it comes to a support role? Well, a support role is basically translated to a healer and buffer. Using certain skills such as wide range, you're able to consume potions and other consumables to heal your allies as well as buff them. Now like I said, this build can use pretty much any weapon, but for the demonstration of this video we are using a Hunting Horn and Sword and Shield. Light Bowgun and surprisingly the Greatsword could also be good options if you prefer them. So for the Omega support build, you'll need the following. First of all, you'll need the Gorman's Earring Alpha, which is an earring piece gained from the arena. It's not too difficult to craft and provides us some great skills that are essential for healing builds. You'll then need the Duna Windmail Beta, the Duna Windbraces Gamma, the Suja Sash Alpha, and the Duna Wildgreaves Gamma. The Duna armor pieces are obviously from Duna, both the normal version as well as the Arch-Tempered version, and the Suja Sash is from the trading system found in the game. As for your talisman, you'll need a Friendship Charm 5. When it comes to your weapons, now normally I'd recommend a thunder weapon and a fire weapon, but as we're using a Hunting Horn, I've instead gone for a Dragon Hunting Horn here in the form of the Arkveld Hunting Horn. This is because we have to also take into consideration when using the Hunting Horn the melody effects, and the Arkveld Hunting Horn comes with some of the best universal songs in the game, and on top of that, the Echo Bubble it provides negates blights and ailments, so it negates fire blight as well as being frozen in place if you're fighting Savage Omega. The secondary weapon, I've taken a Fire Sword and Shield, the Artian version, which we can switch to when it comes to taking on the Nursilla clone phase. We'll want a fire weapon here as it deals the most damage to that spider. Using the Sword and Shield also means that I can continue to heal my allies without having to sheath my weapon, thus reducing the time my attacks are interrupted to heal my allies. As for your mantle, I would always recommend the Rocksteady Mantle. The Rocksteady Mantle I primarily save for the Nursilla clone phase so we don't get interrupted and we can deal uninterrupted damage against the spider. But with this build we can also use the mantle in other phases to increase our defense, stop us from being interrupted while healing, and also stop us from being interrupted when playing our various Hunting Horn songs. So when it comes to the decorations, you have a fair few to play around with. When it comes to the Arkveld Hunting Horn, I've first gone for an Expert Jewel to counter the negative affinity this weapon has, and then I've gone for attack jewels to increase the raw attack when using the weapon. You don't need to go for a sonorous jewel, as the Horn Maestro skill is built into the weapon, although if you are using a different Hunting Horn, you would want to consider the sonorous jewel. As for the duels on the Sword and Shield, I've gone for critical jewels to give us a few points in critical boost, expert jewels for more points in critical eye, and a blaze shield jewel for points in the fire attack skill as well as a point in guard up. As for the jewels on the armor, first of all I've gone for gobbler jewels to max out speed eating. I've then gone for jumping jewels to max out evade extender, sated jewels to max out free meal, medicine jewels to give us maxed out recovery up, a challenger jewel for a few extra points in agitator, our only DPS skill really, and you'll then have a single decoration left to play around with, to which I've gone for a fire resistance jewel, so we don't have negative fire resistance on this build. You can replace this with something else if you wish. So when it comes to the skills on this build, you'll have the following. First of all, if you're using the Darcblade hunting horn, you'll have attack boost at level 4, increasing the raw attack when using this weapon. You'll then have critical eye at level 3, increasing the base affinity of this build, countering the negative affinity found on the Darcblade horn. And then you'll have Horn Maestro at level 2, which greatly increases the effect duration of hunting horn melodies. Basically, the songs last longer. It should be noted as well that the Darcblade hunting horn, the main reason we are using this hunting horn is because of the Echo Bubble, Ailment and Blight negated, as well as the songs it provides, namely Attack up L, Defense up L, Sonic Barrier, and if we want to deal some extra damage, it allows us to perform the resounding melody. Now, when we switch to the Sword and Shield for the Nerscylla clone, we'll instead have the following skills. First of all, we'll have Critical Eye at level 3, again increasing the base affinity of this build. You have Critical Boost at level 3, which increases the damage of our critical hits, but only applies to the raw portion of an attack, not the elemental portion. And then you'll have Fire Attack at level 3, increasing the fire rating and thus the fire damage of this build. And finally, Guard Up at level 1. Guard Up we've taken because Nerscylla does have a fewer beam attacks that potentially need Guard Up. That's the main reason we've taken it. Now, as for the skills on the armor, first of all, we will have Wide Range at level 5. Wide Range is a skill, an essential skill for support build. This allows the effects of items to be passed to nearby allies. This includes potions and consumables that would buff our allies, like Might Seeds. Having Wide Range at level 5 passes on the effects of these items at their full efficiency. We will then have Tool Specialist at level 5. Now, the main reason I've taken this is because I want to make use of the Rocksteady Mantle. Tool Specialist reduces the recharge time, allowing us to use the Rocksteady Mantle, which not only increases our defense, but also ensures that we aren't interrupted by healing our allies or performing melodies. Well, this is the main reason I've taken this skill, as it allows us to use the Rocksteady Mantle more often. Personally, I'd recommend using the Rocksteady Mantle right at the start of the fight, during the Nerscylla phase, and then finally at the final phase. Just remember to take off the Rocksteady Mantle once it's used up so the recharge timer can start. Tool Specialist is also enhanced by the set bonus we're using on this build, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. Anyway, next up you have Agitator at level 3. This is our main DPS skill, but to be honest, we're not focused on DPS with this build. Agitator is a skill, a buff that kicks in whenever a monster becomes enraged, granting us bonus raw attack and base affinity. You'll then have Divine Blessing at level 3. Divine Blessing is a skill, a wonderful defensive skill, that reduces the chance that we take damage 50% of the time. This really can help keep us alive, and to be honest, I found it more useful than investing in defense boost. You'll then have Recovery Up at level 3, which increases the amount of health recovered when we restore our health. So when we drink a potion, it will restore more health. This effect can also be passed over with Wide Range when we're healing our allies. You'll then have Evade Extender at level 3, a skill that increases the distance at which we evade and dodge. This is a phenomenal skill when it comes to taking on Omega and Savage Omega, as it allows us to dodge most of its attacks quite easily. You'll then have Quick Sheath at level 3, allowing us to sheath our weapon incredibly quickly. Great for when we need to quickly sheath the hunting horn to heal our allies. You'll then have Speed Eating at level 3, another skill that I consider essential for support builds. This increases how quickly we can drink potions and consume item. You'll then have Free Meal at level 3, which gives us a chance at not consuming a consumable when we use it. This reduces how quickly we will run out of the ability to heal our allies, as well as how often we will have to go back to camp to resupply, which is one aspect you need to worry about in a support role, which I should mention it here. When playing this support role in particular, you'll need to customize your item loadout to be able to craft potions in the middle of the hunt. So you need to take normal potions as well as extra honey so you can craft more mega potions, for example. Customizing your radial menu as well also helps in this regard. Failing that, remember as well, if it's too risky to go back to camp to restock, which I would still advise doing, especially in between phases, you can also mount your Sacred and check the item supply bag there, as it will normally contain extra potions for you. And the final skill is Fire Resistance at level 1, slightly increasing the fire resistance of this build, which I've primarily taken as a optional decoration choice to counter the negative fire resistance found on this build. Finally, you'll have the set bonus Ufduna's Cover Protective Veil at level 1. This is a set bonus that increases your defense temporarily whilst you're using a specialized tool. So when we're wearing the Rocksteady Mantle, our defense is increased even further. So there we have it. That is the support build that I tend to use for Omega and Savage Omega. As you can see, it is strongly focused on support and defense rather than offensive skills. This is not a build that you're going to be using to DPS the monster down. Although yes, of course it can still hit the monster, and I would advise you to still use your hunting horn attacks against the monster during the hunt rather than stay at the back of the map and heal. It's nonetheless not specialized at bringing down monsters quickly. I will say as well, during the last phase of Savage Omega, there'll be times where you feel that you're simply riding around on your Sacrets trying to heal your allies, and that's okay. It may feel frustrating that you're not necessarily able to contribute damage, but for the most part, your role is to try to keep everyone alive. Which also, don't beat yourself up if people do faint, because some of Omega's attacks can one-shot people without correct builds, or have put too many points into DPS and neglected survival. But every build out there comes with pros and cons, and this is no different. The biggest pro for this build is its healing capabilities, able to heal you and your team incredibly quickly, keeping you all alive. The next pro for this build is its quality of life skills, from Divine Blessing, Quick Sheave, Tool Specialist, and Evade Extender. All of these will aid you in a hunt and help keep you alive. And the final pro for this build is it pretty much can be used with any weapon. You don't have to use the hunting horn or the sword and shield with this build. You can use what is best suited to your playstyle. You also have quite a few options as well when it comes to changing the talisman, as you may have a better talisman than the Friendship Charm here. Just remember though, if you do change the charm, to re-socket Friendship Decoration so you get that maxed out wide range again. But unfortunately there are cons. Obviously the biggest con for this build is it is low when it comes to the damage output, but that's not our main role when using this build, so it's a given. The other con is there will be times, unfortunately, that even with free meal and our Sacred's backpack, if the hunt is going south, you may run out of healing items and have to travel back to camp. I'd always recommend bringing materials to craft more items and potions during the middle of the hunt, and I'd also advise bringing some Farcasters in case you need to quickly travel back to camp to restock. Another tip would also be to maybe edit one of your shoutouts to say to your team that you're going back to camp to restock so they don't jump into the next phase whilst you're not there. But regardless, this is a fantastic support build that I've had a lot of success with. It may not use the best, absolute highest tier armor pieces out there, but I've had very little issues keeping my team alive whilst using this build. But what are your thoughts? Please leave a comment down below, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a support build to counter Omega Planetes in Monster Hunter Wilds. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.